Welcome to math. Today we're going to learn how to do the order of operations. Okay, so order of operations. The way I teach this is GERMDAS. You might have heard it called PEMDAS last year, right? And PEMDAS means the P stood for parentheses. As you go further on in math, though, there are things other than just parentheses. So we don't want to just call it parentheses. We want to call it groupings. So our first thing is groupings, right? And groupings, they can include things like parentheses that we just talked about, right? They could also be brackets like this. They look like that. Or they could also be absolute value bars. Remember, absolute value bars have two straight up and down lines, and there's something in between them. So if I was going to do that one, so let's say I had like 3 minus 5, the absolute value of 3 minus 5. Well, 3 minus 5 gives me negative 2. All right, well, absolute value, all it's asking for is how many units is it away from 0. So what happens is anything that's inside of the absolute value bars, after you simplify it, becomes positive. So my answer was negative 2, so these absolute value bars are going to make the answer 2. That would be my answer. Okay, so groupings could include these three things, and whenever you see those, you want to do them first. All right, my next step is exponents or radicals. Exponents or radicals. So exponents, remember, are like the little numbers that are floating above numbers sometimes, right? Like this is 2 to the third power. We did this when we did scientific notation or base powers of 10, right? So 2 to the third power. So remember, this exponent tells you how many times the big number is being multiplied by itself. So 2 to the third power, remember that really means 2 times 2 times 2. Okay? And 2 times 2 times 2, 2 times 2 gives me 4, times another 2 gives me 8. So 2 to the third power would give me 8. Okay, those are exponents. Radicals are the square root sign. So the square root sign, we did square roots when we did perfect squares, right? Like the square root of 16 is 4, because 4 times 4 gives you 16, right? So square root signs are also in that same part. All right, the next one is multiply or divide, right? In multiply and divide, we want to do whatever comes first from left to right, all right? And then the last step is add or subtract, and we want to do whatever comes first from left to right. Okay, so what does that mean? So that means multiply and divide. Let's say I had 16 divided by 4 times 2, right? I go from left to right. I want to divide here first. 16 divided by 4 would be 4. 4 times 2 would equal 8, right? If multiply came first, so let's say I had, I don't know, 4 times 2 divided by 8. This time, multiplying comes first, so I want to do that first. 4 times 2 will get me 8. And then I do divided by 8. 8 divided by 8 equals 1. So that would be my answer. Okay, so multiply and divide, you do from left to right, whatever comes first. So you can see in this example we did division first, and this example we did multiplication first, even though both of them have multiply and divide, right? Add and subtract is the same thing. Add and subtract is the same thing. Let's say I had 10 minus 3 plus 2. All right, so I'm going to go from left to right. 10 minus 3 plus 2. Minus is first when I go from left to right. 10 minus 3 gives me 7. 7 plus 2 equals 9. Right? Let's say I had 10 plus 2 minus 3. Well, in this case, addition comes first. 10 plus 2 I would do first. 10 plus 2 is 12. 12 minus 3 equals 9. Okay? So adding and subtracting, you want to do it from left to right. Multiplying and dividing, you do it from left to right, whatever comes first. All right? All right, let's go on and do some practice problems together. All right, so let's do this first one. This first one, I see I have 2 parentheses, 3 squared plus, or times 2 divided by 3. Okay, so my first step is always groupings, and I see we have a grouping here. We have this parentheses, right? So inside that parentheses, I have to think to myself, should I do this exponent first, or should I do this multiplying first? And if I look at my order of operations, exponents come before multiplying, right? So I'm going to do 3 squared first. So 3 squared means 3 times 3, and 3 times 3 is 9. All right, and I'm still working inside this parentheses. So now I can multiply these to finish out my parentheses. 9 times 2 is 18. All right, and then I can bring everything else down. I want to bring down that 2, and I want to bring down that negative 3, or divided by 3. All right? Okay, so now I'm done with my groupings. Now I got to go across. Is there any more exponents or radicals? No, there's no more exponents or radicals. Is there multiply and divide? Yes, there is multiply and divide. When a number is next to a parentheses, that means multiply. I'm going to say that again. When a number is next to a parentheses, that means multiply. So 2 times 18 divided by 3. Multiply and divide, I want to do whatever comes first from left to right. So that means I'm going to do 2 times 18 first, which is 36. And then I'm going to have 36 divided by 3 left. Well, what's 36 divided by 3? 36 divided by 3 is 12. And then that is my final answer, 12. Okay? All right, let's do the next one here. The next one, I see I have parentheses 1 minus 3, close parentheses squared, plus parentheses 4 to the third power minus 15, close parentheses. So my first step is groupings. Groupings, in this case, is parentheses again. 1 minus 3 would give me negative 2, right? Negative 2. And then negative 2 squared plus 4 to the third power minus 15, close parentheses. All right, so I'm done with this parentheses. There's nothing else to do in there. I'm just down to one number, negative 2. So now I got to do this parentheses. And I got to think to myself, should I do my exponent first or should I subtract first? So I go back to my order of operations. I see exponents comes before subtract, right? So I want to do exponents first. So 4 to the third power. Remember, that means it's 4 times 4 times 4. So what is that? What is 4 times 4 times 4? Well, 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 4 is 64. So that means I'm going to have 64 minus 15. All right? So I'm still inside that parentheses, so I can finish this out, this parentheses. 64 minus 15 gives me 49. 49. All right, and then I'm going to bring everything else down. Plus, and I still get this negative 2 squared. Okay, so now I'm done with my groupings. So now I'm going to keep going through my rest of my list. All right, so exponents and radicals. Do I have any of those? I do. I have an exponent right here. So that means negative 2 squared. What that means is it's negative 2 times negative 2. And negative times a negative gives you a positive. 2 times 2 gives me 4. So this would be 4. And then I can just bring down my plus 49. And then 4 plus 49 is my last step. 4 plus 49 gives me 53. So my answer would be 53. And I'm all done. All right, let's do another one. Okay, let's do 5 times 6 plus 6 minus 6. There's a lot of 6's there. All right, so there's no groupings, so I don't have to do that step. Exponents and radicals. There's no exponents and radicals. I don't have to do that step. Next one's multiply or divide. There is a multiply or divide. Remember, this dot in the middle means multiply. So I have to do that before I can add or subtract. 5 times 6 is 30. And now I can just bring everything else down. 30 plus 6 minus 6. All right, I'm done with my multiplying and dividing. Now I'm left with adding and subtracting. And I do that from left to right. 30 plus 6 is 36. 36 minus 6 gets me back to 30. So that's my final answer, 30. All right, let's do this one on the right here. The one on the right, I have 60 divided by 3 times 2 minus 5 plus 10. Okay, so I don't have any groupings. I don't have any exponents or radicals. My first step I have something in is multiply and divide. And remember, I want to do that from going from left to right. So what comes first from left to right is this division problem here, right? 60 divided by 3. 60 divided by 3 is 20. So I'm going to have 20 times 2 minus 5 plus 10. All right? So now I still have a multiply, so I'm going to do that next. That's my next thing from left to right. 20 times 2 is 40. So I'm left with 40 minus 5 plus 10. Okay, so now I'm done with my multiply and divide. Now I want to do my add and subtract. Remember, add and subtract, we do it from left to right. So what comes first? I have 40 minus 5 plus 10. Well, 40 minus 5 comes first, so I'm going to do that first. 40 minus 5 is 35. So I'm left with 35 plus 10, and 35 plus 10 equals 45. And that is my final answer. Okay? So order of operations, start with groupings, exponent and radicals, multiply, divide from left to right, add, subtract from left to right. All right, let's do one final one together, and then we'll be all done with our notes. All right, the last one down here, this is a big fraction bar, okay? So when you have a big fraction bar, remember a fraction bar means divide. It means divide. But to be able to divide this top by the bottom, I have to simplify what's on top and simplify what's on bottom, and then I can divide it, right? So my top, let's do our top. We have 19 minus 8 plus 4. So there's no groupings, there's no exponents, there's no radicals, there's no multiply or divide. All that's here is add and subtract, right? So we do it from left to right. 19 minus 8 would give me 11, right? So I would have 11 plus 4 on my top. Okay, and then I can keep going. 11 plus 4 would give me 15. I would have 15 on top. All right, so now I'm done with the top of my fraction, the numerator of my fraction. Now I have to do the denominator, the bottom of my fraction. 5 minus 2 to the third power. Remember, 2 to the third power means 2 times 2 times 2. Well, 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So I'm left with 5 minus 8. All right, so what's 5 minus 8? 5 minus 8 is negative 3. Now I simplified my bottom of my fraction, my denominator. So now once I simplify the top and I simplify the bottom, now I can divide these two. So I can do 15 divided by negative 3. Well, 15 divided by 3 is 5. And if I have a positive divided by a negative, that's going to give me a negative. So it's going to be a negative 5. And that's my final answer. So whenever you have a big fraction, you solve the top, get your answer. You solve the bottom, get your answer. And then get the final answer, you divide the two because a fraction bar means divide. Okay, so that's the order of operations. Order of operations, we do groupings first, and then exponents and radicals, and then multiply and divide. We go from left to right, whatever comes first. Add and subtract, we go from left to right, whatever comes first. You follow these steps, you'll get every single question right. I know you can do it. All right, if you have any questions, please ask a teacher, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!